Folks, everybody seems to have an opinion regarding Black Lives Matter. If you listen to these mainstream news folks, you swear they don't know how to actually do any research. Last week, I blasted Bill O'Reilly of Fox News for lying about Black Lives Matter on the air. Juan Williams, who joined him, said they had no agenda. We also busted out that lie. Well, guess who now joins the lie? And that's why we have this no-lie zone. It's CNN anchor Don Lemon. Here's Don last week talking with Rashad Turner of the St. Paul, Minnesota chapter of Black Lives Matter.
What is the end game of Black Lives Matter if you don't want to involve in the political process when so many things have come together to help your particular cause?
Well, see, the end game is for us to stop being killed, for us to stop being beat.
But how does that happen then?
There's all this talk.
The question, and I want to be very respectful of you, but how does that happen without legislation, without being involved in the political or the legislative process? It doesn't just happen from yelling.
It doesn't happen from yelling without being involved in the political process. Don, do you have the capacity to actually use Google? See, this is what happens when you sit in the office all day and you don't do any real reporting. Now, I'm going to pull up for you a column that Juan Williams of Fox News wrote in the Hill newspaper. This is on their website, thehill.com. Scroll up, please. Here's the column, okay? And in this particular column, Juan Williams actually says the following, which is stunning. It is as if he also doesn't know how to research. And I know Juan, and I like Juan. But for some reason, he gets it wrong. He says they're playing with fire. In the opening line, Black Lives Matter is fast becoming its own worst enemy. He says it lacks an agenda. It is antagonizing the black community's top white political allies, including Democrats running for the party's 2016 presidential nomination. And it is not finding common ground with any of the Republican majority in Congress. He then goes on to say, in the same piece here, the movement's failure to get its collective act together carries real danger for the political clout of African Americans in the 2016 election. But check this out. This is hilarious. He says in this piece that they have failed to connect with Latinos. Quote, they're not finding common cause with Latinos. He then goes on to say that they also are not involved in what's happening in Congress. He lays out in terms of what they should be backing. He ends it by saying they should be lobbying Congress, holding voter registration drives, quizzing candidates on their plan for sentencing reform, but don't heckle the candidates and incite violence by calling for cop killing. The movement could be critical to securing and mobilizing black support for criminal justice reform that actually would improve black lives. What Juan Williams wrote is a flat lie. Simply isn't the truth. The fact of the matter is, folks in the Black Lives Matter movement are doing that. Now, let me teach Juan and teach Don and teach Bill about Black Lives Matter. First of all, understand this. Black Lives Matter, folks, started as a hashtag in 2013 after George Zimmerman was acquitted of killing Trayvon Martin. The founders of Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, Opal Tometi. Now, that was the hashtag. It evolved into a series of organizations. There's some 25 chapters right now that are autonomous of the National Black Lives Matter organization. But here's a piece all these media folks don't seem to understand. When you talk about Black Lives Matter, it's not really one entity. That's why it's called a movement. In fact, there are numerous organizations that utilize the calling card Black Lives Matter. In essence, it was a simple three-word statement that summed up the feelings of so many African Americans who were outraged to see African Americans who were dying and justice not being done. That's the reality of Black Lives Matter. But let me walk y'all through this here, okay? This is real simple. When you talk about these various organizations, pull them up, please. Here's the deal. You got Black Lives Matter Network, the Dream Defenders, which first of all came out with Trayvon Martin killing in 2012. You got Black Youth Project 100, Million Hoodies Movement for Justice, Black Alliance for Just Immigration. Go to the next one, please. You have Color of Change, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, Project South, Southerners on New Ground, Organization for Black Struggle out of St. Louis. Next graphic, please. Advancement Project, Baltimore Algebra Project, Center for Constitutional Rights, the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, the Ohio Student Association. Next graphic, please. You have Rise Up Georgia, Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, Center for Popular Democracy, Ferguson Action. These are the groups, folks, who are very much involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. Again, not one organization, not one entity that's involved with it. Now, I laid out this criticism. You heard Don actually say this nonsense, you're not involved in the political process. Well, check this out. The reality is the Black Lives Matter folks did reject what was stated from the Democratic National Committee, where they passed a resolution trying to agree with their various agenda. But here's what Don Lemon didn't tell you. What he did not tell you was the reason they rejected the resolution. Black Lives Matter activists have not been checking out of the political process. They've been involved in the political process. This is a statement on the Black Lives Matter website, Facebook page, from Sunday, August 30th, 2015. Shelley, pull up my iPad, please. This is what it says. A resolution signaling the Democratic National Committee's endorsement that Black Lives Matter in no way implies an endorsement of the DNC by the Black Lives Matter Network, nor was it done in consultation with us. You hear what I'm saying? Wasn't done with us. They also say, more specifically, the Black Lives Matter Network is clear that a resolution from the Democratic National Committee won't bring the changes we seek. Resolutions without concrete change are just business as usual. Promises are not policies. All right, now, let me walk you through this as well. Juan Williams said there's no agenda. Juan Williams said they aren't involved in terms of policy and lobbying. Don Lemon says, oh, you guys are out here just yelling. Now, again, if you know how to use Google, which we do here at TV One, this is what you clearly understand. And that is, there are various solutions that have been offered by numerous groups. Join CampaignZero.org, a group of activists involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. They actually have put together. Shelley, pull up my iPad, please. Folks, do you see what it says? Solutions. Let me scroll on up. Here are 10 policy solutions. End broken windows policing, community oversight, limit use of force, independently investigate and prosecute, community representation, body cams, film the police, training, and for-profit policing, demilitarization, fair police union contracts. Okay, inside of those 10 are a total of 33 specific policies. Now that's just join CampaignZero.org. There are other organizations as well. The New York Justice League, they also have their very clear list of demands. They are one of the groups and that falls under, if you will, this notion of Black Lives Matter. This is on their website. We demand the following, and it says immediate action. The immediate firing of Officer Danielle Pantaleo, who killed Eric Garner. The state of New York will appoint a special prosecutor. Guess what happened? Governor Andrew Cuomo signed that executive order. So they actually pressured the governor to do that. Hey, Don Lemon, that's called being involved in the political process. The city and state of New York draft legislation to clarify the rules of engagement. New York City created a comprehensive NYPD training program. An immediate end to NYPD's broken windows policing. An end to the criminalization of young people in the New York school system. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder expedite the federal investigation into the death of Eric Garner. Immediate passage of the Right to Know Act. New York State and all localities engage in complete transparency. We call on Mayor Bill de Blasio, Governor Andrew Cuomo, and New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman to meet with the New York Justice League to deal with all these issues. Folks, this is public policy. And so what Juan Williams wrote is a lie. What Don Lemon said is a lie. What Bill O'Reilly said is a lie. What this proves is they know nothing about Black Lives Matter. They know nothing about the activism that's going on by these various groups. They don't even bother to have these folks on the show. Now, the gentleman Rashad Turner, that was only his third national media appearance, and he's out of St. Paul, Minnesota. He's not involved in some of these national dialogues that are going on. Oh, just one more thing. Ferguson Action, another entity. Guess what? Shelley, go to my iPad, please. These are their demands. They list the demands on their website. It's very clear. It deals with housing, it deals with education, it deals with jobs, prison industrial complex. They also have national demands. They have you can also download the demands. And so what I don't understand, how can journalists like Juan Williams and Don Lemon and Bill O'Reilly call themselves journalists when they can't even do basic fundamental research? On this show on TV One, we have interviewed numerous activists involved in Black Lives Matter. In fact, some of them are even calling this the movement for Black Lives. What you see, folks, is a clear intent to destroy what is being going on. A clear intent to delegitimize the activism going on. What Juan Williams has to understand is the actions to change the policies in America don't just happen in this building that you can see behind you. It happens in state capitals. It happens in City Hall, in County Commissioner's Court. So what I would hope, mainstream media, since I'm now taking you to school to understand this, that you actually do some research and stop thinking that somehow there's one organization and one leader you can call to understand this Black Lives Matter movement or the movement for Black Lives. What is clear is most of you are clueless because you can't do any basic reporting. Coming up next, I'll talk to my panel about this particular issue and what has to be done to change the narrative and deal with the truth when it comes to Black Lives Matter. 12 after